Hello everyone, David Lang here on a balmy Friday morning for my weekly fireside chat. Hope you're all doing okay. I've said I'm going to try to focus on the positives today, but I'm going to start with a negative. Things are going, well, what's the expression? Hell in the handbasket, with the coronavirus over here. More and more restrictions are taking place. I'm sure we're not unique here in Israel. I'm sure this is happening all over the world. So I just hope that you're all taking the precautions that are needed. And close the window, please. Thank you. Background noise issues. And you're taking the precautions and, being safe. It's a scary time, of course. But as I said, I want to try to focus on the positives. So the first thing I wanted to mention is, if you remember back to last week, I spoke against an anonymous wokester on my Facebook feed who was talking about how there's progress against racism. That kind of triggered me, and I spoke out against it and said, look, why don't you call out the anti-Semitism of the left and in the Black Lives Matter organization? And I kind of got frozen out with some passive-aggressive behavior. So I'm happy to report that the person involved, although not acknowledging what I said, a few days ago actually posted an article by a journalist which was talking about the anti-Semitism that we're seeing from Black Americans at the moment. And this is like literally the first time I've seen this person, who considers himself an anti-racism campaigner, speak out against anti-Semitism in this way, or at least the anti-Semitism, the more pernicious form of anti-Semitism, not the easy kind of low-hanging fruit of the neo-Nazis, which anyone can speak out against, no harm done to their reputation, but, to speak out against the more pernicious, more prevalent anti-Semitism within the leftist movement and within the Black Lives Matter movement, that takes, some gonads, as it were. So I'm happy to report that he did that. Something I didn't mention last week is actually his father-in-law is a proud Jewish man. So that was also something that kind of perturbed me. So I would like to think that my rant had some sort of an effect on him. And you know what, it's all well and good to rant, and it's very cathartic, and it feels good, obviously, but at the end of the day, you want to kind of make a difference. So I thought this was quite positive. I think I made a difference, at least in this case. And even if it wasn't me, I'm just glad that this wokester became a bit more awake to the anti-Semitism that's going on there. So that's positive item number one. Okay, positive item number two. So of course, I'll start with the negative again. That's how I roll. This rampant anti-Semitism which is going on within the Black community. And I've been blogging about it. You all see it with these major celebrities. And now you have Nick Cannon. Can you close the door, please? Thank you. Background noise, what can you do? So basically, you have Nick Cannon. He's a high-profile celebrity. Ice Cube up to his old tricks. I don't want to delve into that. That's negative stuff. I want to sort of highlight some positives, which were that you have some celebrities with large followings who are talking out against this anti-Semitism, and I think there needs to definitely be more. But you have, for instance, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, former NBA player, huge role model. He's amazing, he's phenomenal. He's been doing this interfaith work for a long, long time. And if I'm not mistaken, I think his father was one of the US soldiers that liberated one of the concentration camps, maybe Auschwitz, and came across who would be the future Chief Rabbi of Israel, Rabbi Lau, and they actually met in Israel a number of years ago. Correct me if I'm wrong. He's a huge mensch. He's basically gone out there and he's spoken out harshly against this Black anti-Semitism that we're seeing now, which is being endorsed by so many celebrities. It's ridiculous. And then another nice surprise in terms of people opposing this Black anti-Semitism was the women of the show The View. And I'm normally not quoting The View, but it was great to see this video that I posted yesterday, which has gone very viral, by the way. Joy Behar and Whoopi Goldberg, they were right on point. And that's why I posted it. Just as an aside, and maybe on a less positive note, it was a bit disappointing to see some commenters on my site, on the Facebook page, actually say, I'm not going to bother looking at this, I can't stand them. Especially considering last week I was lauding how people on the right are more open-minded than people on the left and don't try to shut ideological opponents down, and that kind of made me look a bit foolish with egg on my face. And you're missing out. I mean, guys, if you're confident in your views, you should be open-minded and have a look. I mean, I'm someone that doesn't agree with the Women on the View at the best of times, but I'm, open-minded enough to have a look and you see what the other side is saying. Not that they're all on the other side. You have Meghan McCann on the View. It's quite a diverse group of people. So that was a bit disappointing, and I encourage all of you to, keep an open mind and look at, even if you don't like a person's views. Most times, if I say this is a great video, then maybe you should, or someone else says that, then maybe you should at least have a look at it and not just say, I'm not going to bother. Be that as it may, that was great, and that was really heartening. So that was positive item number 2. Okay, so positive item number 3, and there's going to be a bit of a plug here. And I'm normally not someone that likes plugging my work. I'm a bit embarrassed by it, but it's a dog eat dog world, or in this case, a human eat delicious barbecued meat world. And I'm going to do it now. What I wanted to say is that I have now officially set up an Israeli Amutah, non-profit, Israeli Cool Israel Advocacy. And I did that, just came through about a week or so ago. And there's a number of reasons why I did this, but first of all, I want to, some of you might not actually know, is that Arya says, don't eat dog meat. Yeah, good one, mate. Good one. Never. I have 2 dogs, by the way, and they're not going to ever be eaten, God forbid. So yeah, anyway, so basically, and now I've just lost my train of thought. Thank you, Arya. And Arya bombed me a few weeks ago with his puke lime lycra. So he's, a habitual offender, as it were. Anyway, so yeah, I've set up this non-profit. And, this Israeli Cool was so yeah, now I remember what I wanted to say. Thanks, Arya. So some of you might not know this, but this Israeli Cool, my Israel advocacy, is now my full-time job. At least I'm trying to pivot into that. And it's actually a matter of necessity. So many of you will know that my beloved wife Ahava, may her memory be blessing, passed away from cancer after a 7-year struggle against cancer almost a year ago, coming up to almost a year ago. We're coming up to what we call the yard site in a week or so. And, I'm a widower with 5 kids, and I need to, balance everything in my life. And I don't really have the liberty to go out to some sort of company anymore. I worked for a high-tech company for 17.5 years. It was great. Fantastic ride while it lasted. But then, in the last few years, I became almost a full-time caregiver, and it was very hard to kind of balance things out. So I want to obviously be able to look after my kids and be the best father that I can. So to be able to work from home is amazing. And be my own boss is also very important, because I need to be present and be able to balance everything out. But in addition, obviously, you all know that the job market is terrible because of the coronavirus. We have so many unemployed here in Israel, and I'm sure it's a similar story elsewhere in the world. So the best thing for me to do, if I can, is to be able to work from home and do my own thing and be my own boss. So that's one sort of practical reason why I've tried to set up this, I have set up this non-profit organization here in Israel, Israeli Cool Israel Advocacy. Another reason, of course, I'm passionate about it, but, it was a hobby for, 17 or so years. I started in 2003. I was one of the first online Israel advocates, or at least having pro-Israel blogs out there, especially, from Israel, So, but it's great, and I feel it's a blessing to be able to do that for a living if I can do it. So this was the logical next step, to become a non-profit, to be able to solicit donations and offer tax deductions for people. Having said that, there's some other reason, by the way, to do with my pension, that I need to actually be an employee in order to safeguard the pension that I've accumulated within my high-tech career. I don't want to get into the boring details, but trust me that this was the way to go, and I need to do it. And that's why I'm plugging this. I'm not usually comfortable plugging my own work, and I believe that if you're good at something, others would say that. You shouldn't have to say that, but I believe I do important work. There are many people out there doing important work, and I need to be able to plug this. So what does this mean? So ironically, people located in Israel can't get tax deductions at the moment, because it takes about a year from when you incorporate the Amutah here in Israel, from when you can offer that. But I have partnered with a charity in the US. So US supporters of Israeli Cool, of my work, can actually get tax deductions on donations. I'm not going to go into the whole rigmarole of how to do that, but I've got a new respectable email address, admin@israelicool.org. Okay, if you contact me there, I can give you more details. I offer tax deductions on donations by check, or if you donate at least $2,500 by wire transfer. And you've asked my opinion, my humble opinion. I think you guys should try for the wire transfer option, of course. But in all seriousness, if you have a bit of extra cash to give, go and help out the poor. There are many poor people, obviously, especially because the situation has been exacerbated by the coronavirus. But if you do allocate some of your spare disposable income, if you have that, if you're lucky enough to have that, to Israel advocacy, then I'm now going to state my case as to why I think it would be great if you could help support Israeli Cool. There are many great Israel advocate organizations that you can support. Stand With Us, Honest Reporting. You have Canary Mission. You have all sorts that do different things. But I believe, Israeli Cool does offer a unique proposition or service. I believe that I do things a bit more on the offense rather than the defense, like some of these other organizations do. Although, again, I'm not dissing any other organizations. They're fantastic and I would support them. But what I'm saying is that there's a distinguishing factor here. So I really believe that we shouldn't always be on the defense. You have to, of course, attack the lies. But at the same time, you have to kind of go to offense and shame those who are spreading anti-Semitism and lying and doing all these sorts of things. And there are great organizations like Canary Mission and Stop Anti-Semitism, but I was actually a pioneer in this space. And I like to use humor as well. It's not all kind of serious because I believe humor is just a way of life. You should always use humor in your life, and it's a great way to cope with life. That life can be pretty hard sometimes, and I think it's effective. And I also try to educate. I bring forward a lot of history articles, as you know, and again use humor. And there are a lot of things that other organizations, let's say, of course, the media bias, the Honest Reporting, Camera, and the like. I do all of that as well. So if you have allocated some of your, let's say, money that you want to donate to a good cause, and you've already donated to some poor organizations that catering for those who are in need, because that should definitely be the priority always, and especially at this time. But if you already donate to pro-Israel or want to donate to pro-Israel organizations, and you're in the US, then please consider donating to Israeli Cool. So as I said, please get in touch with me, admin@israelicool.org, and I'll give you more details. Again, at the moment, I can offer by check or by wire transfer, and I definitely would go with the wire transfer if you can. And I'm also working on credit card transaction donations with tax deductions, as well as other places in the world. So there you go. I've actually plugged Israeli Cool. Again, I don't usually do it, but I kind of am in the situation where I need to. And again, I tried to focus today on positive news. So that was some positive news, that I'm actually now a non-profit. And if you want to support this non-profit, then you can actually get a tax deduction. That sounds like positive news to me. I mean, look, things in the world at large are extremely, you can look at it from a negative point of view. But, I think it's always important to look at the positives as well. You have to acknowledge the negatives going on in the world, the bad stuff going. You have to fight it when you can fight it. But at the same time, you always have to count your blessings, because we all have our, things which are happening to us, which are really bad. But we also have things which are really good. And even waking up in the morning and being alive and healthy, if you are, we should all acknowledge that. And anyway, I just chose to focus on the positives today. Okay, so that's it from me today. Shabbat Shalom. Have a great weekend, everyone. And hopefully I will see you and speak to you next week. Take care.